Welcome to version 2 of Next.js Amazona. It's a coding course to build a fully functional e-commerce website like Amazon by Next.js 14. We use the latest feature of Next.js, including server components and actions, app router, and route handler to build this e-commerce website. Feel free to add this project to your portfolio or sell your products or services using this beautiful and fully functional e-commerce website. My name is Basir and I'll be your instructor in this course. I have 20 years of coding experience in international companies like RI Vision in Montreal, and now I'm a coding instructor with 50,000 students on YouTube. By the end of this course, you will learn high-tech technologies in web development, including Next.js, app router, server components, actions, and route handler, Tailwind, Daisy UI, and Chart.js for UI framework, Mongodb and Mongoose ORM for database, PayPal and Stripe API to connect your e-commerce website to the payment gateways, deploy your website on the cloud using Vercel and Mongodb Atlas, implement a strong authentication system using Auth.js and Google Auth, upload images using Cloudinary, manage state using Zustand, and implement fetch data and caching using SWR. By having these technology, let's see what we're gonna build. Here is the website that we're gonna build together. In the header, we have brand, search bar, and nav bar. Also, there is a sidebar here to shop by department. On home screen, we have carousel like this. And down here, we have latest products. By clicking on a product, we will be redirected to the product details page. Here we have product image, product information, and action card to add the product to the cart. Here we are using server components and search parameters in the URL. Let's say if I change the color to red, it will be appear in the search bar. So it's gonna be indexed by search engines like Google. It is SEO friendly. Also, it works for the sizes too. As you see, we have color red and size medium. Down here, we have review section like this, and you can add as many review as you want. By clicking on add to cart, a toast appears here and you can proceed to checkout or continue on shopping. By clicking on proceed to checkout, we will be redirected to the shopping cart page. And what we have here is list of products in the cart. Let's add another product to the cart, change the variation, add it to the cart, and there we are. We can change the quantity and the subtotal will be updated automatically. By clicking on proceed to checkout, we will be redirected to the login page and we can create a new account like this by clicking on register, entering information in the form and clicking on register button. Then we will be redirected to sign in page to sign in with the registered account. After sign in, we get back to the checkout wizard. After sign in, we are on the shipping address form. Enter address, click on next, select payment method, click on next, and here we have preview of the order. By clicking on place order, an order will be created, and based on the payment method, we have options for payment. By clicking on PayPal, we will be redirected to the PayPal to finish the payment by clicking on complete purchase. There we are. We get back to the website, but this time the payment is done and the status has been updated. In the customer point of view, we have a menu for customer. It includes the profile of user. We can update username, email, and update the password. And we have order history to show list of previous orders for the user. One of the best features of this website is search. You can search by product name, let's say shirt, and press enter, you will be redirected to the search page, and you can search by departments, price, and customer review. Also, you can sort products based on price, newest, and rating. And there we are. You can clear the filter and search again by filters in the left side. Let's go to the admin dashboard and check the admin point of view of this e-commerce website. I just sign out and sign in with admin account. Then go to the menu and click on admin dashboard. There we are. We have a beautiful dashboard here. It has statistic section, sales report using beautiful charts. Let's review the features of admin part. We have orders. Here we have list of all orders. Let's say for this one we just created right now, I can change the status of this order to delivered. By clicking mark as delivered, the status will be updated. The next menu in admin dashboard is managing products. Here we have list of all products. I can create a new one, or I can edit the previous product in the list. Let's click on edit. We can change the values, change the upload a new image, change the price, content stock, and other features of product. Also, we can delete products by clicking on delete button. Let's go for the last part of admin dashboard. It's users. You can edit or delete users and change their permission. Let's say for the last user, I click on edit and change this user permission to admin. There we are. Great. Let's get to code and implement this awesome project together. In this lesson, we are going to install development tools including web browser, code editor, source control, and JavaScript runner. Let's go for it. Let's start by code editor. It's VS Code. Go to this link and based your operating system, click on the blue download button. For me, it's Mac, so I click on Mac. Then I will be redirected to another page and a new file will be downloaded in my download folder. After download, double click on it, follow the installation and install VS Code on your computer. Let's go for the next one. It's Google Chrome as web browser. Go to google.com/Chrome and here click on download Chrome. After a while, Chrome start downloading, and like what we did in VS Code, just double click on the downloaded file, follow the instruction, and you will have Google Chrome on your computer. The next software is Homebrew. It's a package manager for macOS and Linux. Go to brew.sh and copy this command. Then open your VS Code and from terminal menu, click on new terminal, paste the command here and press enter. It needs your admin password, enter it, and it start installing Homebrew on your computer. After installing Homebrew, go for the next package. It's Git. Go to git-scm.com/download and based on your operating system, select the right one. I'm using macOS, and here it's super easy. Run brew install git. Brew install git. Run it in your integrated terminal in VS Code, and it start installing Git on your computer. The last package is Node.js. It's a JavaScript runtime environment that we needed to create backend and building frontend project. You have two options, LTS and current. I select current to use the latest feature of Node.js. Click on it, and it will start installing Node.js like Chrome and VS Code. Just double click on the downloaded file, follow the instruction, and you will have Node on your computer. Great, here Git is installed. Let's check the installation of other packages. Close this and open it again. Let us start by Node version. Type node-v and press enter. Here we are using version 19. For npm-v, it's the package manager for Node. It's version 9. Let's check Git. We are using version 2.39. That's it. We installed all required packages and tools to develop e-commerce website by TypeScript Mir. In the next session, we install extensions for VS Code and make it ready to develop our project. If you are using Windows operating system, watch this lesson to see how you can install all requirement tools for development in this course. Let us start by installing Google Chrome. Open your default browser. I'm using Microsoft Edge on Windows, and type Chrome download on the address bar. Then select this address, google.com/Chrome, and then click on download Chrome. After downloading Chrome, click on Chrome setup.exe, confirm, press yes, and then it starts downloading Chrome on your computer. After that, it installs Google Chrome. There we are. There is no need to Microsoft Edge. Close it and maximize Google Chrome. Chrome is the default browser for the web development in this course, and it's time to install Code Editor. In the address bar, type VS Code and press enter. We are going to install Visual Studio Code on this computer. Awesome. Download for Windows. If you are using another operating system, you can download them here. Use the stable one. Download for Windows. You will be redirected to this page, and it starts downloading VS Code in your downloads folder. After downloading, click on it, click on Run, and accept. Select the default options and click on Install button. Click on Finish, and there we are. We have Visual Studio Code opened in our computer. Make it maximize and go back to Google Chrome and install Node.js. Type Node.js and press enter. Here, click on Node.js. You will be redirected to nodejs.com/en, and then click on this version, the LTS version of Node. I'm using version 16, and let's download it. After download, click on it, open the installer of Node.js, click Next, and Next again, select default options, and install Node.js on your computer. And the last thing that we're gonna install here is Git. Type Git and press enter and select this one, git-scm.com. Click on it, select download, and based on your operating system, select the right one. I'm using Windows. Click here to download the latest version. And then click on installer file. Click yes, and there we are. Click on next here. We are going to install git bash and git UI. Select default options, next, next. Select default one, click on next, next again, default options, default one, next, next, click on install. So what I did is to accept default options to install Git on Windows. Awesome. It says completing installation of Git, and click on finish. Press escape, and let's go to VS Code, and from terminal menu, select new terminal, and instead of default shell, which is PowerShell, I'm going to use git bash, but I'm going to make it as a default profile. So click on select default profile, and by installing git bash, we have this option here, select git bash, then click on plus, and this time we have git bash in Windows, so we can run Linux-like commands in Windows, and throughout this lesson, we use this command style in the terminal. Let's test the version of git, git --, version. So we are using version 2.34.1. So your versions may be higher, that's okay. Let's check the node version, node -- version. Awesome, we are using version 16.13.1. Check npm version. We need all of them for this course. And we are using version 8.1.2. That's it about installing Google Chrome, Visual Studio Code, Node.js, and Git on Windows operating system. In the next lesson, we configure Visual Studio Code to code simpler, smarter, and better throughout this course. In this lesson, we are going to install extensions for VS Code and configure VS Code for development. Let's go for it. In your VS Code, click on Extensions icon, and there we are. We only need 3 extensions. ES7 React snippet. So type ES7 React in the search box, select the first item and click on Install button. I already installed it, so I get Uninstall button. After installing this package, go for the next one. It is ESLint. We need ESLint to find issues in our code. If you don't have it, just type ESLint in the search box, select the first option and click on Install button again. And the last extension that we need is Prettier. Type Prettier in the extension search box, select the first item, and there we are. It's a formatter for our code. Click on Install button, and after installing these 3 packages, we are ready to configure VS Code. Let's go for it. From Help menu in VS Code, select Show All Commands and type User Setting. Select JSON one, not the UI. Select this one. And here is all the setting that we need in our project. From these settings, only 5 settings are required and others are optional. To enter setting, just type these options in the setting. Let's try the first one. I just get rid of the first setting and try to type it again. Inside double quote, type color theme. You will get workbench color theme. Press enter. And here we have a list of options. Select default dark plus. It's the theme that we will use in this course. For others, use the same method. Type editor.default formatter to the Prettier-VS Code. So we are using the extension that we installed earlier for formatting our code. Also enable format on save. So when you press Ctrl S, automatically your code will be saved. Next 2 settings are for Prettier. First one is removing semicolon at the end of the commands. And the last one is using single quote instead of double quote for wrapping strings. By having this setting, our code looks prettier and more professional. For the optional setting, I just set the zoom level to 4 to make the font bigger. The next one is removing the mini map on the right side. Also, I remove the status bar at the bottom of VS Code. And next 3 settings are for Git, enabling smart commit, auto fetch, and confirm sync automatically. And the last one is for TypeScript to automatically update imports on moving file throughout folders. That's it about the VS Code configuration. Save this file and we are ready to start development in this course. Let us start by creating Next application. Open VS Code and go to the terminal. Go to desktop. Then run this command. Copy this and paste it here. npx create next app at signed latest. then press enter. Enter the project name. I'm gonna set it to Next-Amazona-v2. Press enter. Would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. Would you like to use ESLint? Yes. Tailwind CSS? Yes. We're not gonna use src directory. No. App router? Yes. Customizing the default import alias? No. And wait a while to install all packages. There we are. The next step is gonna be opening the project. From File menu in VS Code, open folder, go to Desktop, select Next Amazona v2 and open it. Here we have the project folders and we are ready to run it. From terminal, click on New Terminal and run npm run dev. Then press enter. Great. Open localhost colon 3000 in your browser. I'm gonna use Google Chrome and make this window side by side with the VS Code like this. The next step is installing Daisy UI. It's the most popular component library for Tailwind CSS, and we're gonna use all of its beautiful features for our project. Simply go to this link, copy this command, then in the VS Code, open a new terminal, paste the command npm install -d in dev dependency section of package.json Daisy UI @latest. Press enter, and there we are. The next step, based on how to use, is to add this line to the module.export of tailwind.config. But in our project, we have TS, not JS. Open tailwind.config.ts, find the plugin line and replace it with this one. Good. Next step, create components folder in the root folder of project. Right click here, new folder, components, and inside the components, create header folder. We're gonna shape header of website, and inside header, create a new file, set it to header.tsx. Inside that, type RAFCE to create a React arrow function with export. Make the first letter capital and export it. Here we are going to put the header of website. Keep it as it is. Then go to the app directory, find layout.tsx, and inside the body, create a div like this. Set the class name minimum height screen, make this div full height, and set display to flex, and the direction is gonna be column vertically, and move the children inside this div like this. Then use the header component that we have defined in components folder, header, and press tab to import it. Here is the address @components header/header. Let's add footer after children. Here is gonna be the main content of our website. We have header and we need to have a footer. For footer, I'm not gonna create a new components because it's just a simple paragraph. Let's create footer like this. Set class name to footer. It's a class from Daisy UI to shape a beautiful footer for us. Make the footer centered, create padding, and set the background color to 30% of the background, the default background, the base background, and set the font color to text-based content. Inside that, create a paragraph and put the copyright inside that. Change the title of website to your brand and description like this. Next step is creating a root group for the front end of e-commerce website. In the app folder, create a new folder, and inside a pair of parentheses, create front. So it's the part of website that customers will see. Inside that, move the page.tsx inside front end, move it, and go to page.tsx, and inside front group, right click and create a new file. Set the file name to layout.tsx. index.tsx. For the layout inside front folder, I'm going to copy the layout from the app folder, paste it here, and get rid of all imports, rename root layout to front layout, and get rid of all return. And what I'm gonna return is the main HTML element. Inside main, render children. Set a class for main to flex grow, container, margin horizontally auto, put stuff center aligned, and create horizontal padding. Save it, then go to page.tsx. Get rid of all content in the return all the way down and create a fragment and heading to latest products. Set class name to text 2x large and create a vertical padding. Get rid of image, and there we are. We have header, latest product section, and a beautiful footer. Let's shape the header. Open header.tsx in components/header folder. Get rid of div and replace it with header. Inside header, create a nav element, and inside nav element, create a div like this. Set class name to navbar. It's a class from Daisy UI. Use justify between to put the website brand on the left and the header menu on the right, and change the background color to base 300. Inside this div, create a link, import link from next/link, set the address to the homepage, and for class name, use button class from Daisy UI. Use btn ghost to create a button like this from Daisy UI. Also make the font size a bit bigger using text-large. Save the code. Here we have the brand link. I'm going to put two menus on the header. After link, create a UL, set class name to flex to put stuff next to each other. Inside that, create an li, and in the li, create a link. For the link, set the href to /cart, the cart page, and set class name to btn ghost, and use rounded button to create a radius around the button. Set the caption to cart and duplicate it for sign in. Save it, and there we are. We have header like this. If you don't like the uppercase format of buttons, simply go to the global.css and at the very end add this class. For btn, set text transform to none. By saving this, the text is normal. Great. In this lesson, we created header, footer, and content section to put list of products here. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to publish the source code of this project on GitHub. To do that, click on version control icon, enter a message for the first commit. It's about 01, create next app layout, and click on commit. Then click on publish branch. A pop-up comes here and it says the name of repository on GitHub. If you do not have this pop-up, you need to log into your GitHub account and then you will have this box. You have two options. I'm going to make this repository public, so I select the second one. Wait a while to publish to GitHub and uploading files, and at the end you will have open on GitHub button. By opening, there we are. We have access to the GitHub repository of this project. Let's open this link in a new window. There we are. You have access to the repository of this project at this address. For each video, I will create a new commit, so you can access to each commit by going to the commit section, then open the video number based on my lessons, and then you can compare your code with mine. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to list products on the home screen. Let us start by creating product type. In the root folder, create a folder, set it to lib. All utility files will be added to this folder. Inside lib, create a folder for models, and inside model, create product model, product model.ts. Here I'm going to export product type. Here is the product type. What we have is the ID of product of type string, name, slug, image, banner, all of type string, price of type number, brand string, description string, category of type string, and we have rating, non-reviews, and content stock of type number. Also, we have product colors and sizes of type array, but they are optional. Good, let's go for the next step. Go to components and create a folder inside components, set it to products. And inside that, create the first product related component. It is product item. We use this component to show a product item in the home screen. Product item.tsx. Here I'm going to render a product item. Let's type RFC to create a React functional component, and as parameter to this component we have product and it's of type product in the product model. Import product type from the models folder. For the div, set the class name to card. It's a class from Daisy UI. Change the background color, create a shadow, and set margin button to 4. After creating div, it's time to create product image. I'm using figure element, figure HTML element, and inside that, create a link, set href to /product/product slug. Import link from next/link. Then put an image inside the link. Import it from next/image. Set src to product.image, alternative text to product.name. Set height and width to 300 pixel and use this class names object cover to fit the image inside div. Set height to 16 rem using H64 and make it full width. Right after figure, create another div. Set card class name to card body to create a padding inside the card. Then define a link component. Set href to product URL, and inside that put an h2. Set class name to card title and change the font weight to normal. Next to link, create a paragraph, create margin button 2, and set it to product.brand. At the very end, I'm gonna create another div, set class name to card action. It's gonna be the footer of the card, make it flex, item center and justify between. Inside that, create an span and make the font size to text-2XL to make the product price large and put a $sign before it. Awesome. It's time to create sample data. Inside the lib folder, right click, new file, data.ts. We're gonna use static data, but later on this course, we will use Mongodb as a database. Define data as object and export default data. What I'm gonna do here is to create product as a field of data and set it to an array of objects. The first object is the first product, so I need to put product fields here. That's it. Product name, slug, category, image, and other information of the product will be defined here. You can duplicate this and make it as many as you want and change the values. Here, I'm going to define the second product using this information. Fit shirt. Let's go for the third one. A slim shirt. The fourth one, golf pants. Fifth, fit pants. And the last one is classic pants. Awesome. I need to create images folder in the public and put images with name and put some images with these names. Go to the public folder, right click, new folder, images. You can download images from internet, change the name to shirt 1, banner 1, shirt 2, etc. and put them inside images. But if you want to use my images, you can go to the repository, the link in the description, then go to the public folder, images folder, and download them, then paste them here. Here I just paste the images. Here is the images, and we have 3 pants, 3 shirts, and 2 banners. Good. Let's go for next step. In the page.tsx, go to page.tsx in app/front, and right after heading 2, create a div, set class name to grid, and what I'm gonna do here is to put product thumbnails next to each other. For medium device, use grid calls 3, so I'm gonna have 3 product in a row, but for large screen, we will have 4 products in a row. For small screen, mobile devices, we have 1 product in a row. Also set the gap to 4 to create gap between product thumbnails. Inside that, use data, import it from lib/data, .products, .map, and convert each product to a product item from component/products folder. Import it. That's it. We need to set the key. Set key to product.slug and set product to the product from products folder. Save it. Here we are getting this error. It says property ID is missing. Go to product model, put a question mark, make it optional, and make banner optional too. Then go back to page.txs, and there is no ESLint TypeScript error here. There we are. We have product list in the home screen like this. In the large screen is gonna be like this, 4 product in a row. Great, we successfully implemented product list in this lesson. The data is coming from data.js static file, but we will make it dynamic using MongoDB later in this course. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, I'm going to create product details page. First step is creating page file. Inside app, front, right click, create a folder for product. So the final URL of page is gonna be /product/slug of product. After creating product folder, inside that create a new folder, but this time wrap it inside a square bracket. A slug should be wrapped inside a square bracket. So a slug is a parameter that will be passed to the file, to the page.tsx. So here create a new file, set file name to page.tsx, and here it's time to define a React functional component. Type RFC and press tab to create it. We do not need import React here. From the page function, rename it to product details, and inside that define the parameter, and as parameter define params inside curly bracket. Let's define the type of param, like an object that has params inside it, and params comprises of a slug of type string. Next step is getting product from the data.products. Const product equal to data imported from live folder, products, call find function on products array, and search for a slug inside items in the products array, compare them with the params.slug. Save the code. Let's have an if condition. If product does not exist, render a div to show product not found. Otherwise, render the product, create empty container. Inside that, place a div, set margin vertically 2, and inside that, create a link imported from Next/link and redirect user to the home page. The caption of link is gonna be back to products. Next step is creating columns. Let's define a div, set class name to grid. For medium screens, I'm going to define 4 columns and a gap between columns like this. The first column is gonna be for image. So create a div, set class name for medium screen, span 2 of 4 columns, and in this div create image. Import image from Next/image, set width and height, and source and alternative text. Also, I'm gonna set the style to width 100% and make height auto, and set the sizes to 100 viewport width. By having these classes, the image will span to the parent component. Let's go for the next div. Right after image div, create another div for product information. For this purpose, create an UL and define space horizontally to 4. Inside that, create the first list item like this. I'm going to show the product name. Let's click on a product to see what we have done so far. Awesome. Here we have back to product. When I click on it, it works. When I click on a product, I can see the product. Let's go to home page, select another product. So far I have the product. I have product name. Let's go for the next div. We can check it in the bigger screen. It's gonna be like this. Half of the width is for image, 1 Fourth is for product information, and the other share of a screen is gonna be for product action to add product to the cart. Let's go for the next LI. Here I'm gonna show the rating of non-review reviews. Next list item is for product brand, Adidas. Then create a divider using li and create a div, set class name to divider to create space between product information and product description. After divider, create the last list item. Inside that, put description, and in a paragraph, render product description. Save the code to get the result like this. Awesome, we are ready for the last div. It's for product action, adding product to the cart. So what I'm gonna do here is to create a cart using set the background color to BG base 300 to differentiate the cart from the background, and create a shadow around the cart. Inside div, create another div, set class name to cart body to make padding around the cart, and go for the first column of the cart. Here is the first column. Create a div, set margin button to, set display to flex, and using justify between, I'm going to create a tabular form. It's a row. In the left side, I have price, and in the right side, I have the value of price, like this. The next row is gonna be for product status, like the previous row, set margin button flex justify between. The first div show the status, and second div check the content stock of product. If it's greater than 0, show in stock, otherwise show unavailable. Save the code to get the result like this. Let's move it inside the cart body to shape it like this. Also, I can set margin top to 3, but for medium device, make it 0. Save the code. Much better. In larger screen, it's gonna be like this, the cart, and in a smaller screen, we have space between description and the cart. As a last div, I'm gonna show add to cart button. Create a div, set the class name to cart action to shape the footer of the cart, and justify center to put the button on the center of the cart. Then create a button like this. Set class name to btn primary, and make it full width. The type is button and the caption is add to cart. Good. We successfully created product details screen. On larger screen, we have it like this, and on a smaller screen, it is fully responsive like this. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, I'm going to implement add to cart functionality in the e-commerce website. Let us start by creating a utility function named round2 to convert the number to 2 decimal points. Go to libs folder and create utils.ts here. Inside this file, define round2 function. It accepts num of type number and use math.round to convert the number to 2 decimal points. We use it to round prices in the shopping cart. Step 2 is creating order item types. Go to libs, models, right-click, new file, order model.ts. In this file, create a type named order item and define following properties: name of product, slug, quantity in the cart, image of product, price, color and size. We use color and size for next lesson. So far, name, slug, quantity, image, and price is enough in this lesson. Save it and go for the next step. In this step, we are going to install Zustand. Zustand is a state manager based on hooks. It doesn't need any boilerplate and it's easy to use. Simply open a new terminal, npm install Zustand, then go for the next step and create use cart store hook. In the live folder, create a new folder for hooks. Because Zustand is hook based, I'm going to create a new hook and create a new file, set file name to use cartstore.ts. Let us start by importing create from Zustand, round 2 from utils, and order item from order model. Next step is defining cart type. It has items of type order items array and prices for items, tax, shipping, and total. After creating cart type, it's time to create a new instance of this type. It is initial state of type cart, and here set the default values for items. It's an empty array. Items price, tax price, shipping price, and total price, they are 0. Then export const cart store and set it to the return value of create function from Zustand, and as parameter to create function, pass an arrow function that accept nothing and return initial state. The last step here is defining use cart service hook and export default this function. Inside that, extract items and prices from cart store as we defined above here. Save it. At the end, we need to return items, items price, tax price, shipping, and total price. Also, return a function named increase. We use this function to add or increase an item in the cart. It accepts items of type order item, and inside this, we are going to update the items in the cart and prices. To do that, first of all, search for items in the function parameter inside the items array based on the slug and put it inside exist variable. Then, based on the exist value, calculate updated cart items. If the item that we are going to add to the cart already exists in the items array, use map function on the item to find that item in the array and update or increase the quantity of that product in the cart. Otherwise, keep it as it is. If the exist is null, it means that it's a new item and we need to add it to the cart. Use array concatenation syntax to add the new item, deconstruct or destructure the properties of item, and set QTY quantity of this item in the cart to 1 because it's the first time we are adding this product to the shopping cart. Next step is calculating price based on the updated cart item. Let's define this function outside of use cart service hook. Here is the calculate price function. It accepts items as array of items, order item. Then it uses round 2 to convert number to 2 decimal point. Inside that, we use reduce function on the items array and sum up items price times items quantity. In the next line, we calculate shipping price based on items price. If it's greater than $100, free shipping. Otherwise, the shipping price is 100. You can add your logic here too. You can change this logic based on your preference. To calculate the tax price, I'm using 15% tax price. You can make it dynamic too. And for total price, just sum up all three prices we calculated above. And for total price, just sum up items price, shipping price, and tax price. At the end, return them as an object. We extract the result of calc price here. So at this point, we have the updated items price and other prices. Let's go for next step in increase function of useCartService The last step is calling setState on the cart store and update items and prices based on the updated values. Save the code, and here is the useCartService hook. Let's go for next step. It's creating a new component inside components/products. Go to components, go to products, right click, new file, add to cart.tsx. It's a client-based component. We need to define use client at the very first line of this component. Then import useCartService, order items, useRouter, useEffect, and useState like this. Then export add to cart function. It's a React component that accepts items as prop. So define the type of props here. And inside this function, we are going to render a button for add to cart. First of all, get router from useRouter because we want to redirect user after adding item to the cart to cart page. Get items and increase function from useCartService hook and define exist item as state. It's either order item or undefined. By default, it is undefined. Then define useEffect like this. Inside that, set exist item based on the items array. If we have this product in the cart, set that item to exist item. The last function in this component is add to cart handler. Let's put space between them. The add to cart handler just call increase function from useCartService hook and pass the item from add to cart component props. Let's go for render part of this component using return and check the exist item. If exist item exists, we need to show minus, plus, and quantity. But if we don't have this item in the shopping cart, we need to show add to cart button. For the first condition, I'm going to render a div, and for the else condition, I'm going to render a button. For the button, set class name to btn primary, and set the width to full, set the type to button, and for onClick, call add to cart handler. The caption is add to cart. Let's go for exist item case. Here, I'm going to render a button. It's minus button. I'm not going to implement onClick functionality for it. We will implement it for the next lesson. Then define a span to show the quantity of current item in the cart, and render plus button to increase number of this item in the cart by calling increase function and passing exist item as parameter to this function. Great, let's use add to cart. Go to page.tsx, find add to cart button, and get rid of the container div. Replace it with this JSX expression. If content stock does not equal to 0, it means that we have this product in the inventory. So render this expression, create a div. Inside that, use add to cart component, import it from products folder, and pass the item like this. Destructure the product, and set quantity to 0, color and size to empty string. We will fix this in next lessons. Save the code, and there we are. We have add to cart button, but this time if I click on it, it shows 1 and minus and plus next to the number of item in the cart. I can increase it like this, so I have 6 of this product in the cart. If I click on minus, it doesn't work. We implement it in the next lesson. So far what we did is to implement add to cart functionality. Let's show this value here in the cart as a badge. Go back to the lesson and define menu component like this inside header. Go to component, header, right click, new file, menu.tsx. It's a client-based component, use client, import use cart service, link, and use state and use effect from React. Define menu as an arrow function and export it. Inside that, get items from use cart service. We're gonna show number of items in the cart, and use state and effect hook like this. Define mounted state, and in the use effect, set the value of mounted to true. We use this trick to get rid of error in server and client side rendering issues. At the end, return a div. Inside this div, render UL and set the class name to flex items stretch. The first li is gonna be a link, and the href of this link is cart page. We implement this page later. The caption of this link is cart, and here I have a check. If mounted, it means that if I am in the client side and number of item in the cart is greater than 0, it means that at least I have 1 item in the cart, then render a div, set class name to badge secondary to make it like a red color, and use reduce function on the items to calculate number of sum of quantities in the shopping cart. Save it, and then render the second list item like this. It's just a sign in button. To use menu component, go to the header component, get rid of UL here, and replace it with menu component. Import it like this. Save the code, and there we are. I have 7 items in the cart, and if I increase it, it shows number of items in the cart in the badge. Let's go to homepage, select another product, add item in the cart, and as you see, it shows the sum of quantities of all order items in the cart. Great. That's it about this lesson. We successfully implemented add to cart functionality, and in the next lesson, we improve this feature. In this lesson, we are going to implement remove item from the cart. In previous lesson, we implemented add item to the cart, and here we are going to implement the minus button here. When I click on it, I'm going to decrease number of this product in the cart. To do that, we need to add a new function to the use cart service hook. Go to use cart service hook, scroll down to find the end of increase function right here, and define decrease. Like increase, it accepts item as parameter. In the body of this function, find the item based on the slug and put it in exist constant. If it doesn't exist, return. It means there is no need to change the state. Otherwise, calculate update cart items based on the exist item. If the quantity of exist item is 1, we need to remove that item from the cart. Otherwise, we decrease the quantity of this item in the cart. The rest is very similar to increase. Here I just call calc price to calculate the updated prices, and at the end update the state based on the new values. Next step is in add to cart.txs and get decrease function from the use cart service hook. Use it in the minus button for on-click handler, like this. Save the code. Let's check the result. Add to cart, increase, and decrease. If we check the header, it gets updated based on the change here. When I decrease, when the quantity is 1, the item will be removed from the cart and I have add to cart button. Awesome. We implemented decrease item from the shopping cart. And in the next lesson, we go for designing the cart page. In this lesson, we are going to create cart page. Before going for cart page, let's save the items in the shopping cart in the local storage. We use persist function from Zustand middleware. Go to use cart store at the very beginning and import persist from Zustand/middleware. Then find the create function from Zustand and replace it with this version. Here we have create function. As parameter, we pass persist function and we call persist with 2 parameters. The first parameter is initial state as arrow function, and second one is options. In the option, we set the name to cart store. So inside the local storage, the name of key would be cart store. Save the code and let's check the result. Here I'm going to add item to the cart and refresh the page. As you see, it is persisted in the local storage, and by refreshing the page, we don't miss items in the cart. Let's go for creating cart page. Go to apps, front, and right-click new folder, cart. Inside cart, create new file, page.tsx, and type RAFCE. It stands for React Arrow Function with Export Component, and press Tab and set the name to cart page. Copy and paste. So if I click on cart, I will be redirected to this component. Next step is creating cart details component inside cart folder. Go to cart folder, right-click, new file, cart details.tsx. The reason that I'm using cart details component is making the cart page server side and all the client side part will be added to the cart details. So what I need to do is to set use client at the very beginning of this component. Then export cart details function, export default cart details function. It's the main component. Get the router, import it from next/router. Then get items price, decrease and increase function from use cart service. Import it from use cart store hook. The next step is to make sure that this component only render in the client side by using this part of code. What I'm doing here is defining a state named mounted, and in the use effect, set the mounted value from false to true, and if it is false, return empty value. By having this trick, I will not get any error in comparing server-side render with client-side render. Import use state and use effect. At this point, I'm going to shape the cart details component. Create empty container, and inside that, define shopping cart like this. Set a style padding vertically to 4 and text to 2x large. In the next step, I'm using conditional rendering if item.length equal to 0, show cart is empty in a div, and render a link to the home page with Go Shopping caption. Otherwise, create a div, close the opening curly bracket, save the code, import a link from Next/link, and in this div, I'm using grid to divide a screen to 4 columns and define 5 gaps between them in medium screen and larger screens. Inside this div, create another div. This div occupy 3 share of 4 share of the screen, and I'm using overflow x auto because I'm going to create a table here to show shopping cart. Define a table, set class name to table, create table head and table row with 3 columns: items, item, the product in the shopping cart, quantity of this product, and price of the product. Inside that, shape table body, close it, save your code to format it, and inside that I'm going to render shopping cart items. To do that, define items and call map function on the item to convert each item in the items to a table row. Set key attribute to item.slug to make each row unique. The first column is item. Create a link. Set href to /product/slug of product. Set class name to flex items center to put the item in the center. And inside link, create an image. Import image from next/image. Set source to item.image, alternative text to item.name, and set width and height to 50 pixel. Next to image, define a span and show item name and item color and size. Because I did not implement item color and size, I'm going to get rid of it, and in next lessons, we implement size and color for shopping cart items. Save the code. Let's go for the next column. It's the quantity. In this table cell, I defined 2 buttons and a span. The first button is minus to decrease item in the cart. Then shape a span to show quantity of this item in the cart. And the next one is a button to increase this item in the cart. The last column is very simple. It is item.price, put $, before it to show item price. Save the code and use this component inside page.tsx in cart folder. instead of div, return cart details and import it from cart details. Change the title of this page to shopping cart by using method by exporting method data constant and defining an object that has title field. Save it. Let's fix an issue in the cart details. Use router should be imported from next/navigation, not next/router. Update and save the code. Awesome. Here I have shopping cart, items, and I can decrease and increase. If I decrease it from 1, yeah, cart is empty and it removes from the shopping cart. Go shopping, select, add to cart, and go to the cart page. Let's implement the action part to show the subtotal and redirect user to the next step in checkout wizard. Go to cart details. At the very end, find this div and create another div next to it. Inside this, create another div. Set class to cart to shape a cart and change the background color to BGBase 300. Save the code to format it. Create another div. Set the class name to cart body to create padding in the cart and define UL here. Close it. And inside this UL, I'm going to show the subtotal. Define a list item. Inside that, define a div, set padding bottom to 3, and set the font size to X large. Show subtotal here, and in the parentheses, we are going to show number of items in the cart using items.reduce to sum up quantity of products in the shopping cart. Then put $sign and show items price that we already calculated in the used cart store hook. Awesome. Here I have subtotal, 1 item, $70. If I increase, it's gonna change. Shape the last li here. It is a button. The caption is proceed to checkout. The class is btn, btn primary w full width, primary color. And for onClick, use router.push to redirect user to the shipping screen. Let's check the result. Here I click on proceed to checkout and I will be redirected to the shipping screen. Awesome. We successfully implemented cart page. I can add as many products as I want, like this, and go to the cart page and go to the next step, the shipping page. In the next lesson, we continue checkout wizard pages. Until that lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to seed sample data to the Mongodb. Let's start by setting up the Mongodb database. We have two options: installing MongoDB locally on the computer or using Cloud MongoDB database on this address. I'm going to select this one because it's easier. Go to mongodb.com/atlas/database, click on try free, then sign up and log into your MongoDB account. I'm going to log in with my Google account. There we are. If you don't have any cluster, click on create cluster. And here, when you have your cluster 0, click on browse collections. Then create a new database. Set the database name to, let's say, Next, Amazon v2, collection name to test, and create. Next step is creating database access, a database user. Click on add new database user, select authentication mode to password, enter username. I'm using the database name as username and enter your password. Scroll down. In the built-in rule, select read and write any databases. Then scroll down and click on add user. Next step, in the network access, click on add IP address and make it open to all addresses using 0.0.0.0/0. Set a name like all and click on confirm. There we are. You should have this row active. By having this, click on database and get the connection string. Here, click on connect drivers, scroll down and find the connection string, copy and go back to the project. In the root folder of the project, create .env file. Right click on empty space, new file, .env and press enter. Type mongodb underline URI equal to and paste the value here. Replace username angle brackets with your username. For me, it was Next Amazona-v2. Enter your password. For me, it's this, but I will change it later, so you need to use your own password. And after a slash and before question mark, enter the database name Next-Amazona-v2. Save it. And there we are. We have the mongodb URI in .env file. So I need to add .env file to gitignore list because I'm not gonna to share this value on my GitHub repository. Go to source control, right click on .env file and click add to gitignore. Let's go for next step. We need to create dbconnect function. In the live folder, create dbconnect.ts. Live folder, right click, new file, dbconnect.ts. The first step is importing Mongoose. Mongoose is a MongoDB object modeling for Node.js. And by having this, we can have MongoDB validation, casting, and business logic easily through our Next.js application. So the first step is installing Mongoose. Open a new terminal, npm install Mongoose. It's done, and I have imported Mongoose successfully. Next step is defining dbconnect function as an async function. Here, I'm defining dbconnect function in try catch, call mongodb.connect as an async function, and pass the mongodb URI from the environment variables using process.env.mongodb URI. And I'm using exclamation mark to ensure Next.js that this value isn't null. In the catch, throw a new error and pass connection failed message. At the end, I need to export dbconnect. Right here, export default dbconnect. Save the code. Let's go for next step. The next step is in product model. I need to create product schema using mongoose.schema. Let's go for it. Open product model in models folder in live folder. And at the very beginning, import Mongoose. Then define product schema equal to new instance of mongoose.schema function. As parameter, pass an object The first parameter is an object that contains all fields of product model. The first field is name of type string, and it's required. Second field is slug. It's of type string. It's required, but it's unique too. I'm using unique index in the MongoDB to make sure that there is no duplicate slug in the product model. Next one is category of type string, image of the product. The price is of type number, brand of type string, rating and non-reviews of type number, content stock. The default value for content stock is 0, description of type string, and is featured is a Boolean value to show this product in the home page. We will work on it in next lessons. Also, if a product is featured, I need to show the banner image. That's why I'm defining the string, the banner of type string, but it is not required. For a schema function, the second parameter is options of the schema. As option, I set timestamps to true. By having this, when a new record will be created in the database, the time of creation and the last update time of that record will be saved as new fields in the database. Save it, and in the next line from the product schema, get the product model using this code. If we already have the product model inside mongoose.model, use it. Otherwise, call model function from mongoose and pass the name of this model in the database. It is product, and the schema of it as a second parameter of the model. And it is the product schema that we already defined here. At the end, export default product model, so we can use it in other files. Here I'm going to create sample users too, because we need it in the checkout wizard. Like what we did for product model, I'm going to create a new model for users. In model folder, right click, user model.ts. Import mongoose, define user schema. We have name of user of type string, it's required. Email of user of type string, it's required, and it should be unique too. We shouldn't have duplicate emails. The password of type string, and is admin of type Boolean. It is required, and by default it's false. Also set the timestamp to have the created date and time and last updated of users. Get the user model based on the user schema and export default user model. Great, let's go for the last step. It is inserting sample data to the database. I'm going to implement this feature in the products API. Go to apps, right click, new folder for API. Inside that, create a new folder for products. Inside that, create a new folder for seed. And inside seed, create a new file for route.ts. By having this file, we can create sample data by going to this address /API/products/seed. We use route handler from Next.js 13 by defining route.ts in API folder. Let's define the get method here using this function export const get. It's an async function that accepts request as parameter. It's of type next request. Import next request from next/server. Inside that, get users and products from data. Data is coming from lib/data. Here we do not have users. Go to the data.ts and right before products, define users as an array. Define the first user as an object. It has name, email, password, and is admin. You can set it to whatever you like. But for password, we need to encrypt the password using bcrypt package. So I need to install bcrypt.js. It's a package to encrypt data. Install it and import it. At the very beginning of data.ts, import bcrypt.js. As you see, couldn't find a declaration file, so I need to copy this and install types of bcrypt.js to get rid of this warning. npm install in the dependency, dev dependency, @types/bcrypt.js. There is no error here. So the first user is John. The email is admin@example.com. The password is 123456. It is encrypted in the database and admin is true. So this user is admin. Let's define a normal user after this one. Create a normal user, Jane. User@example.com, password the same, and admin is false. Go back to route.ts, and here there is no error for user. After getting sample data, it's time to connect to the database using dbconnect function. Import dbconnect from lib/dbconnect. We already defined this function. After connecting to the database, call delete many on user model. Import user model from models folder. What it does is to delete all records in the user collection. Then call insert many on user model and pass the users from data.ts. What it does is to create 2 new users in the database. Do the same for product model. Import it from models folder, and then send JSON result using nextResponse.json function. Import nextResponse from next/server. In the JSON object, we pass the message, it's seed successfully, and the users and products. Save the code. Let's check the result. Open a new tab, go to localhost colon 3000/API/products/seed and press enter. Awesome. We are getting this message, seeded successfully, the users and products. Let's check the result in the database. Install MongoDB campus. On this link, open MongoDB campus, go to your .env file, and copy the MongoDB URI, paste it here, and click on connect. Wait a while to connect to the database, and there we are. We have Nextjs v2, and it has sample products, there we are, and sample users. Great, we successfully connected to the database and seeded sample data. In the next lesson, we make the source of data dynamic from the MongoDB instead of static data.ts. In this lesson, we are going to load products from the database. Currently, in the home page, we load the products from data.products in data.ts. They are static, and we're gonna make it dynamic from the MongoDB database that we created in previous lesson. Let us start by creating product service. Here, we're gonna define some functions to load data from database. Go to live folder, create a new folder for services. Inside that, create a new file, set the name to product service.ts. In this file, import cache from React package. We use cache to cache the database query result and prevent multiple hitting database. Then export const revalidate to 3600. by setting revalidate, the cache value will be updated at most every hour. Then define the first function. It is getLatest, and wrap an async function in cache function from React. The returned value inside this async function will be cached by React. In this function, connect to the database using dbconnect, import it from live folder like this. Then call find method on product model like this, and sort based on the ID descending. So we're gonna get the latest product first. And by calling limit 4, we get the first 4 documents in the product collection, and use a leen to convert result to plain JavaScript object. At the end, return products as products array. Import product from live folder. Save the code. At the end, define product service as an object that contains getLatest function. Then export default product service. Save the code, go back to the plan, and here it's time to define getFeaturedProduct. Right after getLatest, define getFeatured. They are very similar to each other, but the point is, in the find method, we pass the criteria is featured true. So it returns only featured product for us, because we're gonna show only 3 items in the carousel. For featured product, I can call limit 3 and call leen to convert the result to plain JavaScript object. Save the code, put getFeatured in the product service list. The last function in product service is getBySlug. We're gonna get products by slug. I need to define slug as parameter of type string, connect to the database, and call find1 from Mongodb and pass the slug as parameter to this function. Then call leen and return product as product object. Here I can return this as product object to the getFeatured. Don't forget to export getBySlug in product service. Save the code, and let's go for the next step. It's in the homepage in /app/front/page.tsx. Before going for making data dynamic, I'm gonna set the metadata and change the title and description based on the value in the .env file. So we can make the website name and description dynamic based on the value in the .env file. Import metadata from Next, and then in the .env file, define Next public app name to whatever you like. Here in my case, it is Next Amazona v2. You can set the e-commerce website name. If you didn't set these values, the default value will be used. It's time to get latest product and featured product from the product service. Make the function async, and inside this function, call product service getFeatured and product service getLatest, and put the result inside featured products and latest products. Import product service from services folder, and then it's time to use the result in the return section. For featured product, define a div, use carousel from Daisy UI, make it rounded, set margin top to 4, and make it full width. Inside div, create a JSX expression like this. For featured product, call map function and get the product and index. Then define a div, set the key to the ID of product to make it unique, and set the ID of this div to a slide dash index. For the first product is gonna be slide 0, second product slide 2, and etc. Set the class name to carousel item, make it relative and full width. Inside that, define a link, import it from next/link, and set the href to /product/slug of product. put an image element here, set the source of image to product.banner, and set class name to width full to make it full width, and alternative text to product.name. To get rid of this warning, click on Quick Fix and disable no image element for the entire file. By having this, there is no warning in this line. Save the code. Here we have carousel, but it doesn't have arrows to switch between images. To create arrow button to navigate between slide images, define a div and set class name to this. Then inside that, define two anchor. The first anchor is for left button and second one for right button. Set the href to the slide, and the value after slide dash is based on the index. If we are on the first image, when user click on the left arrow, we need to show the last image. Otherwise, we need to decrease the index by 1. Very similar logic applies to the right button. And here is the result. We can switch between images. Great, that's it about the carousel. Let's close it and go for the latest product. Instead of getting from static data, I'm going to get latest product from the database. Save the code, and there we are. The products here are dynamic from the database. Click on it. In this page, the data is not dynamic. Let's make this dynamic too. Go to page.tsx in app/front/product/slug, and right before product details function, define generate metadata function and export it. We are going to change the title of product details page based on the product name. So we get the params, and from params get a slug. Then from product service, import it, call get by a slug and pass the slug as parameter to this function. Then get the product, and if it's null, show the error message. Otherwise, set the title and description based on product name and description. Save the code, and there we are. It is classic pants. In the product details, instead of getting product from the data.products, we are going to get it from the product service. Change function to async and replace this line with this. Call await product service get by slug and pass the slug from the URL as parameter to get by slug function. Save the code, and there we are. The data in the details is coming from database. Before finishing this lesson, let's fix an issue in the Slack page. Here we have add to cart component. It's a client-side component. I need to convert the product from the server to a plain JavaScript object to get rid of this warning. Only plain object can be passed to client component from server components. To do that, I'm going to define a helper function to convert doc, Mongodb doc to JavaScript object. Go to lib, utils, and define a new function named convert doc to object. It get doc of any type and convert the ID. Here ID is of type MongoDB object ID to a string, and then return back the doc. Save it, go back to page, and here call convert doc to object on the product. Import convert doc to object from utils. Save it and restart the project. Then refresh the product details page. This time there is no error. We can do the same for the home page. When we pass the product to the product item, we can wrap it inside convert doc to object like this. Refresh the page, and the home page and details page works as we want. Also, there is no error or warning in the console. Great. In this lesson, we changed the source of data from static data.ts to dynamic MongoDB database. Also, we change the product title based on the product name. That's it about this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to implement user authentication. For this purpose, we are going to install latest version of Nextauth using this command. You can use pnpm if you like instead of npm. To do that, you need to install pnpm first. It's a package manager for npm and it's much faster and better than npm for installing packages. Open a new terminal and install pnpm. At the time of recording this video, the version 5 should be installed using @beta. So I just install it like this. At the time of watching this video, you may have the version 5 stable, so you can use it without @beta. That's it, it's installed. Let's install React Hook form using pnpm install or add, whatever you like, works. Good. We have React Hook form to create sign-in form. And it's time to set environment variables for Nextauth. They are auth URL and auth secret. Open env file and set auth URL to localhost colon 3000 and auth secret to something secret. Next step is creating auth.ts to create configuration for Nextauth. Go to live folder, right click, new file, auth.ts. First step is exporting config constant as an object. In this object, we're gonna configure Nextauth authentication. First step is defining provider. It's an array, so we have options to define Google, GitHub, and other authentication providers. But here we are going to use credential provider to authenticate by user email and password. So what we need to do is to call credential provider, import it from Nextauth, and as parameter to this function, pass an object that contains credential, and in the credential define email and password. Next step is defining authorize function in the credential provider. It accepts credential as parameter, and when user enter email and password and click on sign in, this function handle the request. So it's clear what we need to do here. First of all, we need to connect to the database, import dbconnect. If there is no payload, return null, not authenticated. Then import user model and call find one to find the email based on the email from sign-in page and get the user. If user exists, check the password using bcrypt package, import it like this. And then if its match is true, return the user. It is successful authentication. And if there is an error, return null to show error message. Go to the user model and put question mark right after model to get rid of error in the middleware. Save the code and let's go for the next step. It's right after the provider, define pages, because we are going to have custom made pages for sign in and register. After pages, define callbacks in the Nextauth config, and the first callback is authorized. Here is the authorized function. It will be run on user authentication. We accept request and auth as parameter. Inside that, we have protected path. So user need to be authenticated to access shipping, payment, place order, profile, admin, and order/ID of order. I'm using regular expression to cover dynamic values for the order ID. If the URL is in this list, then check the authentication. If auth is null, return false, user cannot access to this page. And if we have value for authentication, using double exclamation mark, it returns true. Otherwise return true. It means that all other pages will be public to all users. Save the code and go for the next callback function. It's JWT function. In this function, we accept user triggers session and token. If user exists, we fill the token.user with the user information from the database. If the trigger is update, it means that we are updating the user profile, and if session exists, then update the user with the updated email and name. Let's go for the last callback function. It's session, and what we did here is to fill the session.user with the token.user from the previous step. When we call useSession, this function returns the user information for us in the client-side authentication. Save the code and go for the next step. We just simply need to export const this object from nextauth function. Import nextauth as a default import from nextauth package and pass the configuration as parameter to nextauth function. Then destructure the result and export get and post from handler object. Auth function, we use it a lot in this course. Sign in and sign out for handling user signing and user sign out. Save the code. Let's go for next step. The next step is defining middleware.ts in the root of project. Go to the root, at the empty space, right-click, new file, middleware.ts. First line of code in the middleware.ts is this code, exporting auth as middleware from the auth.ts that we have defined here. By having this line of code, all URL will be passed to the middleware and the user authentication will be checked based on the authorize function that we have here. I'm going to get rid of some URLs including images, APIs. So I need to add config, export it, and in the matcher, get rid of API, static images, and fav icon. Next step is creating route.ts in auth/nextauth/folder. Go to API folder and create auth folder, API, new folder auth. Inside that, create .nextauth inside a square bracket, right click, new folder, and inside that define route.ts, right click, new file, route.ts. In this file, export get and post from lib/auth. So the export of get and post will be used in this file to authenticate user for get and post requests. Next step is creating provider component to wrap the whole application. Go to components folder, new file, provider.tsx. Here is the code for provider component. Define async function provider. It's a server-side component, server component, and import auth from auth.ts and session provider from nextauth/react. This component accepts children as a React node and call auth as an async function and return the result in the session, then wrap the children in session provider and pass session as props to the session provider component. So the children will be the layout and we have access to the use session to the session in the nextauth throughout the client components. To do that, go to the layout.tsx in app folder and right after body, define provider, move the div inside provider and import it from components folder. Save the code and let's go for the next step. Here, I need to create sign-in form. First of all, create sign-in folder and create form component. In app front, right click, sign in. Inside that, new file, form.tsx. First step is defining form component and export it. Then get the session using useSession, import it from Next.js/React, and rename the data to session. Call use search params from next/navigation and extract the callback URL in the query string and put it in the callback URL. Also, we need to redirect user in this page, so I need to use router hook from next/navigation. Right before form, define type inputs and as an object that contains email and password. Then, right after use router, define use form hook from React hook form. Import it from React hook form. Pass the default value for this form to email and password equal to empty string and get register handle submit and form state from use form hook. After this, define use effect, and if session exists, redirect user to the callback URL, because if user is already logged in, there is no need to be in this page and we need to redirect user to the callback URL. Import use effect from React. After this, it's time to define form submit function. The return type of form submit is submit handler from React hook form with inputs as generic type. It's an async function that accepts form, and in the form we extract email and password and call sign-in function from Next.auth/React. The first parameter is the provider, its credential, and second parameter is the payload, which includes email and password. Let's go for the return part. What I'm gonna return is a div. Maximum width is 24 rem using max width small. Put items in the center, use cart to create border, set background color, and create margin vertically. Inside that, create cart body and set heading font to sign in. Save the file, select a product, add to cart, go to cart page, and proceed to checkout. As you see, there is no sign in page. Let's go for it. In the sign in, right click new file, page.tsx. In the sign in page, import metadata and form from the sign in folder and set the title of this page to sign in. Then export async function sign in. It's a server component, and return form component from the same folder. Save the file, go back to form. At the very beginning, make it client component to get rid of this error. Awesome. Good. We are ready to go for shaping input boxes for email and password. Right after heading 1, check the query string for having error in the URL. If there is an error, show the error message. Make sure that the error is equal to credentials sign in, and if it is, show invalid email password, otherwise show the error message as it is. Use alert text error to show error in red color. After this, check successful. If everything is successful, if we have success, query string, show the value of it in the green color. After that, it's time to create a form. Set onSubmit to handle submit form submit function by using React hook form. And as a first input box, shape email field. In a div, create a label and input box, call register on the input box to register email, make it required, and use this pattern to make sure that the email is valid. If there is an error, show the error message for this input box. Second input box is for password, label, input box, error message. Here is the result. And the last one is a button. In a div, create a button of type btn primary, full width, disable if its submitting is true, show a spinner. The caption of this button is sign in. Let's test it. Enter wrong info, sign in, email is not valid, sign in, invalid email or password, and from data.ts, enter correct email and password and sign in. Awesome. We successfully signed in and we get redirected to the home page. So we need to show the username instead of sign in button. Go to menu.tsx. At the very beginning of menu component, right before return, define sign out handler and call sign out, import it from Next.auth/React and pass the callback URL to sign in page. And in the return part, get rid of li for sign in and replace it with this code. If session exists, get the session from use session from Next-auth/React like this and rename the data to session. If session exists and session.user exists, it means that user is authenticated. So I need to render this li. In the li, create a dropdown using Daisy UI, create a label, and inside that, show the username in the label and use this SVG to create caret down. It should be like a drop-down box. And then when user click on the username, this UL appears. In this UL, I have a list item and it's only sign out. In the next lesson, we add profile, order history, and other menu items to this UL. Otherwise, just show the sign in button, but this time I need to call sign in from Next-auth/React like this. There we are. We have John. If I click, I have sign out. When I click on sign out, I will be signed out and get redirected to the sign in page. Let's try again. Enter admin@signexample.com, sign in. Here is John and sign out. Great. We successfully implemented user authentication in this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to implement user registration. Let us start by creating a route handler on this address, API, auth, right-click, new folder, register. Inside that, right-click, new file, route.ts. Here, I'm going to create an API to get the user information and create a new user in the database. It's a post API, so I export const post equal to an async function that accepts requests of type next request. Import it from next server. Get the user name, email, and password from request payload using request.json function. It's an async function. Connect to the database. Import dbconnect from live folder. Then create a hash password using the bcrypt package. Import it. Save the code. Move this import at the very end, right after package imports. And here we have hashed password. We pass the password, the plain text password from the user and create a hashed password. Then using user model object from models folder, import it. Pass username, email, and password. Then get the new user Mongoose object. Here we are ready to create this user in the database. To do that, create a try-catch block to catch any error if there is an error in creating user in the database. Here is the code for it. Create a try-catch block, call save function on new user object, and if everything is okay, return this response to the caller API. Message, user has been created, and the status is 201 because we created a new resource based on RESTful API. The response code should be 201. If there is an error, the status code is 500 server error and return the message. Great. We successfully created the backend API for creating a new user, and it's time to go for creating the front-end part. We need to create form.tsx at this address. Go to app front, right click, new folder, register folder, inside that new file, form.tsx. It's a client-side component which creates a form to register user. At the very beginning, define inputs type. It includes all fields in the UI, name, email, password, and confirm password. Then create form component and export default this component. Inside this component, we need to get access to the session, Nextauth session, using use session imported from Nextauth/React. The next thing we need here is the parameters, the query string parameters. We access it using use search params from Next/navigation. Also, we need to redirect user after successful login or registration. So we need to access use router from Next/navigation. Get the callback URL from the query string in the URL and call use form hook from React hook form. Inputs of this form is of type input, and default value for name, email and password, and confirm password is empty string. Extract, register, handle, submit, and get values and form state from use form hook from React hook form. Save the code. Go for next step. Define useEffect function from React. Check the session. If session and session.user exist, it means that we already have signed in user. There is no need to create a new user for signed in user. So we redirect the user to the callback URL. The next step is creating form submit. When user click on register button after entering their information, we need to handle this request by this function. The function name is form submit. It's of type submit handler. Import this type from React hook form, and the data goes to this function is of type input. It's an async function that accepts form, the structure form, and get name, email, password from it. And in a try catch, call this API /API/auth/register. It's exactly the route we have defined here. The method is post. The content type is JSON. And in the body, we pass the payload using JSON.stringify. check the result. If it's okay, redirect user to the sign-in page and pass the callback URL and show this message: account has been created. Otherwise, get the result and show and through error message based on the result. If there is an error, show the error using toast. Let's install React Hot Toast. Here is the website of this package. Go to documentation. We need to install React Hot Toast. Go to the terminal, open a new terminal, npm install React Hot Toast. That's it. Next step is going to the components folder next to app. Go to components folder and create a new file named clientproviders.tsx. In this file, create a React component like this. The name of this component is client provider. Export default function client provider. It accepts children as a props of type React. Node, and what I return here is empty container that contains toaster and children. Toaster is a component from React Hot Toast package. By having this, I can show toast message in the application. It's a client-side component, so I use client at the very beginning of this file. It's time to use this component inside provider.tsx. So in the provider.tsx, wrap children inside client provider. Import it like this. Save the code. Go back to form.tsx, Command I or Control space on Windows, and import toast from React Hot Toast. If there is an error, you will get the error message as a toast on the screen. Save it. And let's go for next step. Here we are going to shape UI of the register form. Right after submit handler, return a div with the same class name as sign-in form. Inside that, create another div with class name cart body, heading 1 register, and it's time to create the first input box. It's user name. Save the code and go to the register folder, new file, page.tsx. I'm going to show the form component inside page.tsx. Here is the code. What I did is to create register component. It's a server component by setting async. It's server component. And I return form component. It's a client component from the same folder, this one. Also set the metadata, export const metadata to set the title of this page to register. Save it. And here, click on sign in. I'm going to create a link for register. Go to sign in form. At the very beginning, right after the form, create a div, need an account, render a link from next/link. The class name is link, and the address is register page, but I need to pass the callback URL to the register page using query string. Save the code. Awesome. Need an account, registered. Click on it. We get this error. You are importing component that needs use effect. in the form.tsx in the register folder, we need to define it as client component. Awesome. Register and the name field. Let's go for creating email password on and confirm password. Go back in the form.tsx, scroll down. Right after this div, create another div for email. Here is the email field, label email, register email in the React hook form. It is required, and the next validation is checking the pattern of email. If there is an error, show the error message. Save the code to get the email in the UI. The next field is password, of type password. And the last field here is confirm password, this div. In the register function of this field, I define a validate function. It gets the value of this input box and check it with the password field, this one. If they are not equal to each other, I return this error message, password should match. The last item in this form is a button. Let's shape the button, register button. Set class name to primary, disable if we are submitting the form, and if it's submitting, show spinner like this. And if is submitting is true, show a spinner like this. After this div, create a divider and render a div like this. Already have an account, import the link from next/link. And if user has an account, should be redirected to the sign-in page. Save the code. Here is the divider. Good, we shaped the register screen. Let's click on register without passing any data. Oh, I need to wrap it in a form. Right after H1, create a form and set onSubmit to handle submit function from React hook form and pass form submit we created here as parameter to handle submit function. Then move all divs inside the form. Scroll down, select all divs until register button, cut them, and move them inside form. So the final shape of this JSX should be like this, the form and all input div. Here is the register form. Let's click on register. As you see, the validation works. Enter name, email, password. Let's enter different password. Password should match, and the same works. And click on register. Awesome. Account has been created. I'm in the sign-in page, and by entering the password and email and click on sign in, I will be logged in and I have the user Jane here. Before finishing this lesson, let's sign out and go to register page and try to create duplicate user and click on register. Here is the error message, duplicate key error for user's index email, Jane is duplicate. We can make this error much better. Go to form.tsx and register folder, and in the catch block, define error equal to if error dot message exists and error dot message dot index of E11000, it's for duplicate key, equal to 0. It means that if the message starts with this string, then email is duplicate. Otherwise, show the error message as it is using this code. And then if error, show error, otherwise the error message. Save the code and click on register. Awesome. This message is much better. Great, we successfully implemented user registration in this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to create checkout wizard and implement shipping address and payment method page. Let us start by adding shipping address type to orderModel.ts. Open orderModel.ts in models folder and add shipping address type and export it. For shipping address, we have full name, address, street address, city postal code, and country, all of type string. Next step is in the use cart store hook. Open this file in hooks folder in lib. And for cart, we need to add two new fields: payment method of type string and shipping address of type shipping address. Import it from order model and go for initial state. Right after total price in initial state, set payment method value to PayPal. The default payment method is PayPal, and shipping address to empty strings for all fields. Then go to the use cart service and add new functions for saving shipping address and payment method. Scroll down right after decrease function, create a new function, set the name to save shipping address as parameter, get shipping address of type shipping address, and call set state on cart store object, then pass the shipping address value as parameter to set state. So what we did here is to update the shipping address based on the value we passed to this function. We use this function in the shipping address form. Do the same for saving payment method using this function. And go for creating checkout wizard. We are going to create UI component to show checkout steps. To do that, go to components folder, right click, new file, checkout steps.tsx. Here is the code for checkout steps component. Define checkout steps and export default this component. The input props to this component is current. Current shows the current state or current step. By default, it's 0. Inside that, we shaped UL, unordered list, and use the steps class from Daisy UI. Inside that, define an array of list item to show as steps. The first step is user login, second one shipping address, third one payment method, and the last one place order. Convert each string value to an li, set the key to step to make them unique, and set class name to step. But if current state is greater than index, make it primary, so it's gonna be active. Otherwise, make it as deactive, as normal. It means that we didn't get to this step yet. As value, show the string value inside the list item, and there we are. We can use the checkout steps as component in other pages. Let's go for next step and create shipping address form. Go to frontend, right click, new folder, shipping. Inside that, create new file, form.tsx. In this file, create form component and export default the component. Inside that, import use router from next/navigation. We need to redirect user, so we need to get access to router object from use router hook. Then call use cart service and get save shipping address method and shipping address state from Zustand. Then call use form from React hook form and pass shipping address type from order model as data type of this form. For default value, make all of them empty string. All fields of shipping address. Next step is filling default value for addresses like this. In the use effect, imported from React, set value from React hook form, fill the full name field based on the value of shipping address in the use cart service hook. Do the same for other fields. Let's go for next step and create form submit function. It's of type submit handler, imported from React hook form, pass the generic type to shipping address, and inside that we call save shipping address and paste the values in the form as parameter to this function. Then redirect user to the next page, which is payment method. Here I'm going to create a new component inside form component. It is form input component. This React component accepts ID of input, name of input, is it required, and the pattern to validate. The data type ID is key of shipping address, name, a string, required is optional boolean, and pattern is optional of type validate rule from React form hook, React hook form, and regular expression as interface as generic type for this type. What I'm gonna return here is a div that contains a label, an input box, and error message based on the values passed by props to the form input component. Scroll down. Let's go for returning the component. Let's go for the return part to shape the UI of this component. In the return part, create a div. Inside div, render checkout wizard imported from components folder. The current state is 1. It means that we are in the shipping address state. Create a div after checkout wizard. Like other divs, for sign in and register, we make the div center aligned and small width. Then create another div, set the class name to cart body to create padding, add heading 1 to shipping address, and create a form like this. Inside form, use form input component that we have defined here and set name, ID, and validation rules. It's super simple to create form input using this component. After all, create a div, to shape a button for next step. Let's use the form component inside page.tsx. Inside shipping folder, right click, page.tsx. This code is super simple, like sign in and register page. Set the page title using export const metadata to shipping address, and make this component and export default shipping address function as an async function because it's a server component, and return form component, which is a client component. Save the code. Let's test the result. Go to homepage, select a product, add to cart, checkout, admin @example 1 to 6, sign in. In the form.tsx, in shipping folder, we need to make a client component. In the use cart service, to get rid of this error, go to use cart service and add payment method and shipping address. We need to extract them from cart store function like this. Okay, there is no error. We passed user login and we are in shipping address. We are ready to get the shipping address here. Great, let's test it. Enter address and click on next. We are in the payment page. We didn't implement this page, so we get 404 error. But if I go back and refresh, as you see, the data has been saved in the shipping address form. Let's go for shaping payment method page. Here is the plan. Create a form in payment folder. Go to front, right click, new folder, payment, new file, form.tsx. In form.tsx, create a React component and export default this component. And inside that, here, get access to the router using use router in next/navigation. Get access to save payment method, and shipping address from use cart service hook. Create state for selected payment method using use state from React. And define handle submit function. It's an async function. And define handle submit function. Prevent refreshing the page by calling e.preventDefault. Save the payment method selected by user in the UI and redirect user to the next step, which is place order. Also, in the use effect imported from React, if we have address, there is no need. If there is no address in the shipping address object, we need to redirect user to the previous step. Otherwise, set the selected payment method based on the value in the use cart service hook. If there is no value, use PayPal as default. Good. Let's go for the return part of this component. Create a div. Inside that, render checkout wizard. Import it from checkout wizard.tsx in components folder. After that, create a div, center aligned, small width. Inside that, create cart body. And in the cart body, render heading 1 to payment method. Right after heading 1, create a form for onSubmit, call handle submit function, and render 3 divs. Using map function on this array. For PayPal, Stripe, and cash on delivery, we're gonna shape 3 div. Each div has a key equal to payment to make it unique, a label to show the label, and input radio button to get the selected value of the user. If the selected payment method equal to the payment method in this array, make it as selected by setting checked value of the input element. When user changed, for unchanged, we update the selected payment method by the selected value in the list. After this, create a div. In the div, render a button, type to submit the selected value to the server. Also, make a room for user to go to previous step using a button for unclick. Call router.back to go to the shipping page. Great, let's use this form. In the payment method folder, create page.tsx, and like other page component, import form from the same folder, metadata from Next, set the page title to payment method, and render the form in payment page component. Save the code, click on Next. We need to make this component client component, use client, and there we are in the payment method. Selected payment method is PayPal. Let's make it Stripe. Click Next. There is no place order page. Click back again, Next, and as you see, it saves the selected payment method. Even if I refresh the page, the selected value saved in the form. Great. We implemented checkout wizard, and we have 2 pages to get shipping address and payment method from user. We are ready for the next step, which is place order. Until that lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to implement place order. First of all, we need to create order model in models folder. We already have order model.ts. Here we need to define order schema, Mongoose schema. First of all, import Mongoose, and then define order schema like this. It's a new object of mongoose.schema. As parameter to a schema function, we pass an object that contains fields of order schema. The first field is user, and it's like a foreign key to the user model. The type is object ID. It refers to user model, and it is required. So when user create a new order, we fill the user with the user ID in the order model. Next field is items. It's an array of order items. For each order item, we save the product ID of that item. It's a reference to the product model, name of product, slug of product, quantity of this product in the order, image of product, and price of the product. Next field is shipping address. It's like the data type we already created in previous lesson. We save the full address, the full name, street address, city, postal code, and country of the shipping address for the order. Next field is payment method. It's of type string. Payment result. It's an object that contains ID, status, and email address of payer. We fill this on payment action. And next field is about prices. Include items price, shipping price, tax, and total price, all of type number, and they are required. Next one is paid status. It's false, and is delivered status by default false. Also, we need to save the payment date using this field and delivered date using delivered at field. In the options of a schema, we have timestamp to true, so we save the creation and last update date of each record in the order model. After creating order schema, it's time to create order model. If we already have order model, use it. Otherwise, create this object, mongoose.model pass first parameter, the name of model, and second parameter, a schema of the model. We need to export the default order model at the very end. The last thing in this file is creating a type for order model. It's like this: export type order, and we use it to check the data type of order in other files. The first field is ID. It's the MongoDB ID of type string. User, and in the user we have name of type string. Items, it's an array of order items. Shipping address, payment method, payment result is optional, and prices and deliver and payment status. Let's go for the next step. It's creating an API, a route handler, to save an order, to create an order in the database. Go to App API, right click, new folder, orders. Inside that new file, route.ts. What we need to do here is to create post function and export it. This function should be wrapped in auth. Let's import auth from live folder, and in the auth we pass an async function like this that accepts requests as parameter. By having this, we can check rec.auth to see if user is authenticated or not, because this API should be run by authenticated user. To check authentication, use this code. If rec.auth is null, return error message. Unauthorized, set the status to 401. Otherwise, get the user from rec.auth. By having user, we are ready to create order using this code. Create try catch block. Inside that, get access to the request payload by calling rec.json, put it in payload, connect to the database, use dbconnect from live folder, then call find method on product model, import product model from models folder. What we're gonna do here is to get the price of products in the items field, the order items that user added to the shopping cart, and make sure the prices are not manipulated by user in the client. So we get the true price in the database and put them in the DB product prices. Then in the next line, we update the prices based on the price in the database, not the price passed by user from the client, because a hacker can change the prices. Also, we set the product field to the ID because the ID contains the product ID and we do not have ID in the order model. We have product based on this field, and remove ID from the order item. Next step is calculating prices based on the DB order items. Let's define this function. At the very beginning, I defined calc prices. It accepts order item of type order item array imported from order model, and call round2 from utils.ts. To calculate items price, we call reduce function on order item and sum up items price multiplied by item.quantity. Then calculate shipping price, tax price, and total price, then return them. We use this function here and calculate prices. In the next step, we need to create new order model using order model from Mongoose. Import order model from order model.ts. Pass the data. The payload contains the data from frontend, the shipping address that user entered in the form, the payment method user selected in the radio button here, and pass the user ID to the user field of order model. We are ready to create new order by calling save method on new order, and there we are. We have the created order. We need to return it back to the front end And if there is an error, show return error message. That's it about creating route handler for placing an order. Next step is installing SWR. It's a React hook for data fetching. We're going to use this package to fetch data from backend in the client. Open a new terminal, run pnpm install SWR. That's it. Let's go for next step and edit client provider. We need to go to client provider and wrap the component in SWR config to access to SWR in all places in the project. Replace empty container with SWR config and move toaster and children inside SWR. Remove this and save the code and import SWR config from SWR. For props to this component, we have value. The value contains an object. We have two functions in this object. On error, if there is an error, toast the error message, import toast from React hot toast. And for the fetcher function, I'm going to call fetch method from Next.js and pass the resource as a first parameter and init as second parameter to the fetch function. Get the response, and if it's not okay, throw an error, otherwise return the result. Save the code, and right before return, define use effect and add toListener for visibility change on the document and focus on the window, the browser tab. If there is a change, call update store. What do we do here is to reload or rehydrate the data in the cart store. Let's import use effect from React and cart store from use cart store. By having this hook, when we focus on the window, the cart value will be refreshed. Let's say I have two windows of the project in the browser, and in one window, I increase number of items. When I go to the other window, automatically the value in the cart will be refreshed by calling this function. So we are always sync in browser tabs of the project. Great. We are ready for the next step. It's creating form component in place order in the front end. Let's create place order in the front end. Right click, new folder, place order. Inside that, new file, form.tsx. Like always, create form as an arrow function and export default the form. Inside that, get access to the router using use router from Next navigation. Get access to the shopping cart information, import it from use cart service hook, and define clear function inside use cart service hook. After increase, decrease, save shipping, and save payment, define the clear. What it does is to clear shopping cart items. Define it like this. What we did is to set items to an empty array. So we remove all items in the shopping cart. So there is no error here. Save the code and call use SWR mutation. Import it from SWR/mutation like this. Use SWR mutation is a hook to mutate data in the backend by calling trigger function. We rename trigger to place order, and we have access to the state of calling this API using is mutating. We rename it to is placing. In this hook, the first parameter is the API address. It's /API/orders/mine. By having this API, when we have a new order, this API will be revalidated and add the new order to this API. Second parameter is an async function that accepts URL as parameter. We do not need this URL. What we're gonna do here is to call fetch function on this address. we already created this API in the route.ts in orders folder. The second parameter of fetch is options. The method of this API call is post, header, set application to JSON, and as body, pass all information of shopping cart. Then get the JSON result, put it in the data. If everything is okay, clear the cart because we created an order based on the items and there is no need to have those items in the shopping cart, and toast, imported from React Hot Toast, this message. Then redirect user to the order details page. If there is an error, show the error message. Good. We are ready to use them in the next steps. After this hook, we need to call useEffect from React. In the function of useEffect, if payment method is not specified, redirect user to the payment page. If number of items in the shopping cart is 0, redirect user to the home page. This component is client component, and I'm not going to get client and server render error. I'm defining mounted state using useState. By default, it's false. And in the useEffect, I set it to true. If it's not mounted, return empty container. By having this code, this component will be rendered only on the client, and the server and client at the initial rendering get the same value, so I do not get the error of not matching client and server result. Don't forget to add use client at the very beginning of this component. And let's continue after this. Here I'm going to return a div. Inside that, render checkout wizard, and we are in step 4. After rendering checkout wizard, render a div and create 4 columns using grid, middle device 4 columns, gap 4, and margin vertically 4. Inside this div, create another div and occupy 3 of 4 share of columns. Insert the first cart here, create a div with class name cart, cart body, cart title is shipping address, and here we're gonna preview the shipping address in the shopping cart. After this, create a link, import it from Next/link, and redirect user to the shipping page to edit the shipping address. After this div, create another div for payment method. After payment method, create another div for shopping items. Render table, set the class name to table. In the T head, create 3 columns, items, quantity, and price. And in the table body, call map function on items from the shopping cart and render each item to a table row. Input, import image from Next/image, like this. Let me close this div, and after this column, create another column like this. Create a div, inside that create another div, set class name to cart and bg base 300. Inside that create cart body to make padding and add heading 2 to order summary. Shape UL, make a space vertically to 3. For the first list item, show items price. Second one, tax price, shipping price, and total price. In the last list item, create a button, and when user click on the button, call place order. Place order is the trigger function from use SWR mutation, and by calling this function, this API will be called and a new order will be created on the server. Also, if isPlacing is true, show a spinner, and the caption of this button is place order. Let's use this form. What we need to do is to create new file, page.tsx, and like always, set the page title to place order and export default place order page component as an async function. Inside that, simply return 4. Save the code. Let's go to the cart, proceed to checkout, shipping address, payment method, and there we are. We are in the place order. Shipping address can be edited, place order can be changed, and order items can be updated. I just click on the edit, so I can change it, proceed to checkout, shipping address, next step, and it's updated. We have order summary here, and when I click on it, order placed successfully, and I will be redirected to the order page. I get 404 error because I didn't implement it yet. In the next lesson, we implement order details page, but what we did is to create an order in the server. Until that lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we're gonna create order details page. Let's start by creating a route handler to return the order data based on the order ID. So when user call /API/order/ID of order, we return the order details if user is authenticated. To do that, we need to go to API orders folder, API orders, and create dynamic route here, new folder, inside a square bracket, put ID, and in the ID folder, create route.ts to create a route handler. The code to return order data based on the order ID is super simple. You need to import dbconnect, order model, and auth from libs folder, export const get because the API method is get, and wrap your API function inside auth. By wrapping in the auth, we authenticate the function using this condition. If rec.auth is null, return unauthorized, otherwise connect to the database ID in the URL and return that order to the front end. What we did is to grab all parameters and the structure rec and params from the parameters in the async function. Save the code, go for next step. It's creating the order details component inside order ID folder. Go to front end, right click, new folder, order. Inside that, create dynamic route for order ID, new folder, ID square bracket, and here create order details component, details.tsx. Here we export default order details function. It accepts order ID and PayPal client ID, all of them of type string. In this component, call use session to access to the session, and call use SWR hook imported from SWR and pass this URL /API/orders order ID. By doing this, we have the data, and if there is an error in fetching this API, the error. Don't forget to set the component as client component, and let's go for next step. If there is an error, show error message. If there is no data, show loading status. So in this line, everything is okay. I have data and there is no error. The structure, order, information. Let's render order data, return a dev. In the dev, render order ID in heading 1. Right after that, create a dev. Use grid columns 4 to create 4 columns, and inside that create a dev that occupy 3 columns. Inside this dev, create another dev, set a class name to cart to shape a cart. Inside that, create another dev, set class name to cart body to create a padding. In that dev, add heading 2 to shipping address and show shipping address. If is delivered is true, show this message in green color, delivered at this date and time. If not, show in red not delivered. Great. After this cart, create another cart for payment method like this. And after this, it's time to render order items. Create a div, set cart and bg base 300, set margin top to 4. Inside that, create another div, set class name to cart body, and heading to the items. They are order items. Create a table with 3 columns, items, quantity, and price. And in table body, call map function on items and convert each item to a table row. Import order item from lib/models/order model. Import a link from next/link. And import image from next/image. Here is the table body. Save the code and scroll up. Find the call span 3 and close it. Before closing the container div, I'm going to create another div like this. In this div, create another div, set class name to cart. Inside that, create another div, set class name to cart body. And in this div, add heading 2 to order summary. Make it bold by setting class name to cart title. Here we're gonna show items, tags, shipping, and total price. Shape unordered list for the first list item. Display items price, tags price, shipping price, and total price. That's it. Great. Here is the order summary div. We're done with showing data. We do not need to use session in this lesson. In the next session, we need to pay the order, set it to delivered. So we use them in next lessons. The next step is creating page component inside ID folder. In app cart, in app order ID, right click new file page.tsx. Import order details from the same folder. Export function, generate metadata, get the parameter, and from parameter get the ID and set the page title to order, ID of order. Then export default function order history. Then export default function order details page. The input to this component is params, and in the params we have ID of type string. What we're gonna do here is to just return order details component we already defined here and pass 2 values. Order ID, it comes from the URL, and PayPal client ID, it comes from the environment variables. If it doesn't exist, use sandbox as default. We will use this value, this client ID, in the next lesson to implement order payment by PayPal. Save the code. Let's check the result. What we're gonna do is to select a product, add to cart, go to cart details, go to cart page, proceed to checkout, enter shipping address, payment method, and finally click on place order. Awesome. Here is the order details page. In heading 1, we have order, ID of order, a cart for shipping address, the status is not delivered, next cart payment method of type Stripe, not paid, and the next one is list of items. At the end, we have order summary. Great. We implemented order details page in this lesson, and in the next lesson, we implement payment by PayPal. In this lesson, we are going to implement pay order by PayPal. First of all, we need to get credentials from PayPal. go to developer.paypal.com and log in and click on Get API Credentials. Log into your account. If you don't have PayPal account, click on Sign Up and create your PayPal account. You will be redirected to developer.paypal.com/dashboard. Click on Apps and Credential. Here we are in the sandbox mode. If you want to create the live credential, switch to live through this button. Let's start by creating an app. Enter app name. Here I'm setting Next Amazon V2. Select merchant. Select the default sandbox account and create app. Here we have the client ID and secret key. Copy. Go to the VS Code. Open .env file and add 3 variables. The first one is PayPal API URL. It's api-m.sandbox.paypal.com. If you are using the live one, remove sandbox. PayPal client ID. Paste the client ID here. Paste the client ID here. And for app secret, copy app secret and paste it here. Don't use these values because I'm going to remove this app after this video. Save it and let's go for next steps. The next step is creating paypal.ts in live folder. We're gonna define some utility functions to access PayPal. Open live folder, new file, paypal.ts. First of all, set the base. It's the base URL. Read it from PayPal API URL, this environment variable. If it's null, use the default one. Next step is exporting PayPal constant as an object, and here we're gonna define some utility functions. The first function is outside of PayPal. It is generate access token. In this async function, we read client ID and app secret from environment variables, then call buffer from Node.js and convert PayPal client ID : PayPal secret to hash string based on base 64. Here we have auth as a hashed value and we pass it to this API. It's an API in the PayPal to generate access token. The options for this API call are here: method post. As a payload, set grant type to client credential, and in the header, pass authorization basic auth. It's the hashed value we generated in previous step. In the response, I call handle response to convert the response from PayPal to JSON data. Let's define handle response function. It's an async function. Get response as input parameter. If the status of response is okay, I mean if it's 200 or 201, return the response.json. Otherwise, generate the error message and through error. I call this function here, get the response, and return access token from the JSON data object. Save the code. By having generate access token, we are ready to create utility functions in the PayPal object. The first function is create order. We call this function when we want to redirect user to the PayPal website to make the payment. It's an async function that accepts total price as number. Then we call generate token from this function and get the access token from it. Then shape the URL to create an order at this address, the base URL, I mean this one, /v2/checkout/orders. By fetching this URL and passing these options, we create an order in the PayPal, and it makes it possible to pay an order through PayPal. In the options, we have method equal to post. In the header, we need to set authorization to bearer access token, and content type is of type JSON. In the body, we need to stringify this object. The intent is capture. Purchase unit is an array that contains an object. In this object, we have amount. In the amount, we need to define the currency code. It's US dollar. And the value is, it's the price. And the value is the price. The next function in PayPal object is capture payment. We call this function when we are going to finish a payment. It accepts the order ID. It's the order ID from PayPal, not from our application. Like before, get access to the access token. And the new URL to capture payment is /v2/checkout/orders order ID /capture. Then call fetch on this URL and set the method to post and header authorization bearer token. So we authorize this request using access token from generate access token. And by calling this API, the payment will be done in the PayPal. Good. Next step is create PayPal order API using app router in the Next.js. Go to app API orders ID and create a new folder named create PayPal order. Inside that new file, route.ts to generate an API to respond to create order API. Here is the code in create PayPal order API. Export const post, it's a post API. Call auth function from live folder and wrap an async function that accepts all parameters as requests, and in this function extract first parameter, it is the request, and second parameter is an object that contains params in the URL. If there is no authentication, if user is not authorized, send the error message. Then connect to the database using dbconnect from live folder. And after that, call order model imported from models folder. Then call find by ID on the ID in the URL from models folder, imported from models folder. Check the order. If we have this order in the database, create try catch block. Inside that, import PayPal from live folder we already created here, and call create order from this object. As parameter, pass the total price. We are going to get this value from user through PayPal. Get the PayPal order and return this as JSON to the front end. If there is an error, return the error message. If the order does not exist, return order not found and set a status to 404. Next step is creating another API to capture PayPal order to finalize the payment. In the ID, right-click, New Folder, Capture PayPal Order. Inside that, right-click, Route.ts. Like what we did in Create PayPal Order, we need to define post function, wrap the function in auth, import it from auth.ts, get the parameters, extract the first parameter and rename it to request, and second parameter contains the values in the URL, the ID in the URL. If there is an error, show the error message, close the opening parentheses, and let's go for connecting to the DB. Connect to the database, import it from DB Connect. Next step is getting the order from order model. Import it from order model.ts. If order exists, call rec.json to get the payload from this API and from the payload access to the order ID. Then import paypal.ts from live folder and call capture payment on order ID. It's the order ID of PayPal. Put the result in captured data and update the order like this. Set is paid to true, paid add to current time, and payment result contains the ID of payment in the PayPal, update time in the PayPal, and email address contains the user email address. Go to order model, add update time, and in the payment result, pass captured data from PayPal to the payment result in our database, like this. At the end, we need to call save on the order to save this information in the database and return the updated order to the front end. If there is an error, return the error message. If the order does not exist, return 404 error message. Save the code. The next step is in order details component. Open order details.tsx and right after use session, define create PayPal order function. Here we call this API, set method to post, header to application/JSON. And what we did here is to get the response and return the order ID for PayPal component. After this function, define unapproved PayPal order. It accepts data, and here we call the captured PayPal order that we created in previous steps. Pass the data as parameter, as payload to this API, and in the then part, return the JSON data of the response, and in the last then, toast this beautiful message imported from React Hot Toast. The message is order paid successfully. We use create PayPal order and unapprove in the PayPal component. Open terminal, pnpm install @PayPal/React PayPal.js. It's the official package by PayPal to access PayPal API in the React. After installing, scroll down And right after li for total, render this conditional rendering. If order is not paid and the payment method is PayPal, then render an li. Inside that, call PayPal script provider. Inside that, render PayPal script provider from PayPal package. At the very beginning of this file, import PayPal button and PayPal script provider from @PayPal/React PayPal.js. Scroll down, set options. In the options, get the PayPal client ID from the props of this component, and inside the provider, render PayPal button. We pass two properties. The first one is create order function and onApprove. We already created these functions at the beginning of this component. Let's test the result. Select the product, add to cart, go to cart, proceed to checkout, enter shipping, select PayPal in the PayPal method, next, and place the order. Then, here we have PayPal button. Let's open and make it bigger like this and click on PayPal button. You will be redirected to the PayPal to finish the payment. Enter your test ID, your test email that you already have in your Sandbox account when you create your credential for Sandbox account, and then complete purchase. After a while, you will be redirected to the order page, but this time the payment information, the status of payment is paid at this date. And there is no PayPal button here. Good, we successfully implemented order payment by PayPal in this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we're gonna be creating order history page. Let's start by creating an API to return customer orders from backend. Go to App API Orders and create a new folder. Set the name to mine. It's going to return current user orders. Inside that, define route.ts. Here is the code of this route. Export const get. So when user go to this address /API/orders/mine, this function return orders. In the if condition, we check the user authentication. If it's null, return unauthorized response. Otherwise, get the user from rec.auth, connect to the database, and find in the order model all orders that user equal to current user ID. Then call response.json to return orders to the frontend. We will use it later in this lesson. We will use this API later in this lesson. The next step is in the use cart store hook. At the very end, after clear, define a new function. It's init. What we did here is to reset cart store to the initial state. The initial state comes from here and is the default value for all cart status. Next step is in the menu component inside headers, components, headers, menu.tsx. At the very beginning, extract init from the use cart service, and in the sign out handler, call this function. By calling this, When we redirect user to the sign in next screen, we'll remove all user information, including shopping cart, payment method, and shipping address from the cart store. Next step is adding a menu inside drop-down menu here. Before sign out, create an LI, and inside that define a link to order-history page. If I click on my name, I can get order history page. If I click on it, I will be redirected to 404. Let's create this page. In app, frontend, right click, new folder, order-history. Inside that, right click, new file, myorders.tsx. It's the component that I'm going to use to render user orders. Make it client component by setting use client. Export default myorders function. It's a React component to render user orders. Access to the router using use router hook from next/navigation. And here it's time to call the API we have defined at the beginning of this lesson using use SWR, imported from SWR, and set the URL to /API/orders/mine. From this hook, we get the data, rename it to the orders, and get the errors to show error if there is an error in getting this data. Because I'm going to render this component only on client side, I'm using this code. Define use state, define mounted state in the use effect imported from React, set mounted to true. If the component is not mounted, return empty string. By having this code, we will not get any error in not matching client and server rendering result. The next if conditions are about showing error message, and if there is no order, show loading message. Here we are ready to shape the UI of my orders component. Return a table. In the table header, display columns for ID, date of order, total price, paid status, delivered status, and action to delete to get the details of order. In the table body, call map function on orders from backend, and for each order of type order imported from /lib/models/order model, render a table row like this. Set the key to order ID. The first row displays the ID, only the last 4 characters of ID to make the column small. Create a date, only date part, not the time part. You can get rid of it if you want to show all part of the date. Total price, put dollar or your currency before it. If order is paid and paid at has value, in the paid column display paid at. If it's not paid, display not paid. Do the same for delivery status. The last column is for showing details link. Import a link from next/link, set the href/orders/id of order, and pass href to true. The caption is details. Here is the code. for the return part, and we are ready to use it in the page.tsx inside order-history. Right-click, new file, page.tsx. In this component, export cons metadata and set title to order history. Export default function order history. It's the React component to render order history page. Inside that, create empty container, set h1 to order history, and then render my orders component. Save the code, and here is the result. To create horizontal scroll to access to all columns in a small screen, in the return part of my orders component, create a div, set class name to overflow x auto, and cut the table entirely, put it inside the div, and save the code. By having this, you can have beautiful horizontal scroll to access all columns of the all columns of the order history. Let's try again. Order history, scroll, details. Here you have access to the order like this. Great. We successfully implemented order history in this lesson. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to create user profile page. Let us start by creating API handler for updating UI, for updating user profile. We need to go to /API/auth and create folder for profile. Inside that, create route.ts and import auth from auth.ts, shape put API handler using export cons put, and wrap your function in auth, and then check the auth. If it's null, return not authorized. Next step is importing dbconnect, user model, and bcrypt like this. Then in the put function, get user from rec.auth, get name, email, and password from the API payload. You enter this information in the update profile form and connect to the database. After that, create try catch block like this, and in the try part, call find by ID on the user model. The ID of user is in the user object in the rec.auth. We already fill it in auth.ts at this point. We will fix the type error here, put question mark, go to the root of project, in empty space right click, new folder, types. Inside types, create new file, set the file name next-auth.d.ts. Here, import nextauth, default session, and default user from nextauth package. Then declare module nextauth, and inside that, I'm going to update the session like this. In the user object, add ID. It's optional, and it can be string or null. Is admin. It's optional, and it can be Boolean. And merge this with the default session user object. Also, for the interface, extend default user and add is admin and is an ID and is admin like this. By having this, in the code we do not get any error, and if I get rid of question mark, there is no error too. Save the code, check the user in the database. If the user does not exist, we cannot update that user, so I need to return user not found. Then update user based on the name, email, and password from frontend. Don't forget to hash the password before saving in the database. If the password from frontend is null, then use the previous password in the database. We do not update it. Then call save method on dbuser object and return this message to the frontend. If there is an error, return error message. Let's go for next step. It's in the menu.tsx. Go to menu.tsx, write after order history, add a new li, put a link to profile page. So if I click here, I have profile in the drop-down menu. When I click on profile, I should get 404. Let's go and build profile page. App frontend, right click, new folder, profile, inside that, new file, page.tsx. In this file, import metadata from Next and export const metadata, set the title to profile. Then render the React component. It's a server component. I'm using a sync function. Set the name of component to profile, and what I'm gonna return is a form like this, and let's create that form in the profile. New file, form.tsx, RAFCE to create a React component and export defaulted. Save code, go back, import form from ./form and save the code. Here we have form. Go back to form.tsx. Here we are going to shape update profile form. First step is defining inputs type. In this form, we're gonna get name, email, password, and confirm password. Then in the form component, get access to the user session using use session imported from Next.auth/React. Get access to the router from use router hook, Next/navigation. Call use form from React hook form. Set the input type to inputs, and for default value, set name, email, and password to empty string. Next step is defining use effect, imported from React. At the very beginning, get rid of React and replace it with use effect in curly brackets. Define use client at the very beginning. Scroll down. In the use effect, I check the session and session.user. If we have value, set the name and email input box with the values in the session object. I'm using set value from React hook form to fill input boxes. Next step is shaping form handler. The form, when user click on submit button, I need to define form submit function. It's of type submit handler in React hook form and accept input as a generic type of this function. It's an async function that accepts form as parameter, and inside that I extract name, email, and password from the form object. They are the values that user entered in the input boxes. Then create a try-catch block like this, call /API/auth/profile. We already created this API handler. Set the method to post, header, content type application JSON, and in the body, return name, email, and password from the input boxes. If the result is okay, toast, beautiful, profile updated successfully message, imported from React Hot Toast. Then create a new session from the previous session, but in the user, keep all previous information of the user, but only update name and email. Then call update method and pass new session as parameter to the update. Where does it come from, the update method? It comes from use session from Next.js/React. If the result is not okay, get the response and show the message in the result, in the data. If there is no message, show error, toast, error message. In the catch block, get the catch using this code and show the error message. Let's go for the last part. In this component, it's in the return section. Get rid of this and replace it with this div. Set max width to smallest screen, center aligned, cart to create border like this. Inside that, create another div, set a class name to cart body to create padding around the cart. Add heading 1, set class name to cart title to make it bold. Create a form for onSubmit, call handle submit from React hook form and pass the form submit function we created here. Next step, create the first input box like this. Add a div, set class name to margin vertically 2. Create a label and input box. Register the input box using React hook form register function, and this field is required. Set the class name to input border to create this beautiful input box. If there is an error, show the error message in this field. Let's go for the next field. It is email input box like this. I added a new pattern to check the email is valid. Next one is new password. And the last field is confirm new password. In the input box, inside register function from React hook form, I added a validate function and get the password in this input box. And in the return part, I compare password with the value in the confirm new password. If they are equal to each other, it's gonna be true, so I return true, everything is okay. Otherwise, if it is false, password should not match will be returned. Also, they don't have required field in the password and confirm password because changing password is not mandatory in the update profile form. If there is an error, show the error message. The last div is for submit button. Create a div, button, caption update. If is submitting, make it disabled and show a spinner. Everything is okay. Let's click on update password. As you see, password should match. I'm not going to update the password, only I'm going to change the name of user and email of user. Click on update, profile updated successfully. And if you check here, the name of user has been updated in the header menu. Go to another page, go back to profile page. This time I have John 1 and admin 1. Let's make them like before and click on update. Awesome. It works perfect. And we have done this lesson by implementing update profile page. Until next lesson, bye-bye. In this lesson, we are going to deploy our application on Vercel. We already published our code on GitHub. The next step is going to the vercel.com and create a new account. Click on sign up if you don't have an account. Select the plan type, enter your name, and click on continue. Then continue with GitHub and connect your GitHub account to Vercel. Then you will be redirected to vercel.com/dashboard. In this page, click on add new project, import Git repository. If you don't see your GitHub account here, you need to connect it again. And if you don't see your project here, you need to go to github.com, setting, click on your icon, setting, integration, applications, find Vercel, click on configure, and make sure the repository access is to all repository. Then select your project. My project name is Next Amazona v2, the repository name on GitHub, and click on import. In the next screen, we need to configure the project. The project name is Next-Amazona v2. You can rename it to whatever you want. Everything is okay. Only in the environment variables, we need to add the variable in the .env file in our project. Let us start by adding MongoDB URI, put it here, and paste your MongoDB from Atlas MongoDB, not your local one if you have. You should start with MongoDB plus src. The server should be MongoDB Atlas. Paste the full URL here, click on add. Next one is auth URL. Here, I'm going to enter this address. Name of my project, it should be like this: https:// name of project .vercel.app. Make sure that this URL is unique, otherwise you will get an error. Add it. Let's go for next one. Auth secret. It should be something secret. Whatever you like, make it secret. Add. Next field is PayPal API URL. Paste the value here. If you want to use the live one, replace it. Get rid of sandbox and make it live. Click on add. Client ID. Paste your PayPal client ID. And the last one is PayPal app secret. PayPal app secret, and paste the secret here. So here is my environment variables. Click on deploy to see what we get. It started, deployment started. The first step is building the project, then deployment, running checks, and assigning custom domains. Here is the name of my last commit on GitHub. If I open the building part, I can see what is happening here. As you see, it says failed to compile. To fix this error, we need to go to the middleware.ts and remove importing auth from live folder, because inside auth.ts we import Mongoose, and the reason of error is coming from Mongoose. If we run npm run build, we get the same error that we get in the Vercel log. So to remove dependency of middleware.ts to Mongoose, we need to remove this line and replace it with this code. First of all, import nextauth and nextauth config from nextauth package. Then create nextauth config object that satisfy nextauth config. Inside that, define providers as an empty array and callback as an empty object. What I'm gonna do in the callback, is to get authorize function, cut it from here in auth.ts and move it to the middleware.ts. Save the code, save the code. So what we did is to check all URLs in the middleware using authorize function. If they are equal to shipping, payment, place order, profile, order, and admin, we check the user authentication. If it's null, we return false and user will be redirected to the sign-in screen. The reason of doing this workaround is to get rid of error in the DB Connect and user model import, because in these functions we get access to the Mongoose, and Mongoose cannot be used or imported in the middleware.ts because middleware function run on the edge runtime, and in the edge we cannot access to the Mongoose. Let's run npm run build. We will get rid of the error in the middleware. This time we are getting another error. It says in the route.ts inside profile folder, we have invalid export. Let's go to this file. In the auth wrapper, we need to export it as any to get rid of this error. Nextauth didn't implement types for returning value of auth wrapper, so until that update we use as any. Let's do the same for other places that we have auth wrapper. Just search for this in the search box. For the first one we did it. Next one is /API/orders at the very end. Add as any. Next one in the ID folder. The next is capture PayPal order as any. Create PayPal order at the very end as any. And the last one is order/mine as any. Save all files like this, here and here, and run npm run build in the terminal again. It's done, and the build command successfully executed. Awesome. We are ready to deploy our project. So we need to go to the source control, enter a message, publish website on Vercel, and here is the changes to all files. Good. Just commit and sync changes. Go to vercel.com, find the project, deployment, and there we are. Building started. Click on it, and here we can check the deployment details. Open building, and there we are. Great. Project built successfully. Middleware is here. Deployment completed. Here is the details, and at the very end we have Nextjs v2.vercel.app. Let's open it. Awesome. Here we have our website running. Here we have list of products. Let's try sign in. Click on sign in. Enter admin, email and password, and click on sign in. Good. We successfully signed in, and let's add a product to the cart. Select a product, add to cart, go to homepage, select another one, add to cart, increase, go to the shopping cart, proceed to checkout, enter shipping address. Next step, select PayPal. Next step, place the order, and then, here we have PayPal. And by following the PayPal payment, we can implement payment, and the site works perfect. In the next lesson, we are going to add sidebar, dark and light, theme mode, search, pages, admin dashboard, and more.